My parents planned my 21st birthday party. Balloons. Cake. The whole thing. My dad gave a toast. Said he was proud of who I'd become. What he didn't know was that 2 hours earlier, in a quiet corner of that same party, I had signed a document that protected $890,000 of my grandmother's money. From them. And I smiled through every single word of that toast. Here's what you need to understand before I tell you the rest. I didn't do this out of greed. I didn't do this out of anger. I did this because my grandmother looked me in the eyes and said, "Baby, I've been trying to tell them for 2 years. Nobody listens to me anymore." And I decided someone was going to listen. Picture the scene. My uncle is mid-speech. My mom is tearing up. Guests are clapping. My grandmother is sitting at a corner table, smiling at me across the room. And tucked inside my jacket, a notarized document. 11 minutes to complete. Years in the making. A document that, by the next morning, would be filed with the county probate registry. And would change everything. Now let me take you back, because you need the full picture. My grandmother, Grandma Ruth, worked her entire life, owned property, saved every dollar, built something real. And she always told me, always, that when the time came, she wanted to make sure I was taken care of. She had a trust. $890,000 in assets. Real estate, savings, everything she had built over 60 years. Her intention was crystal clear. I was the primary beneficiary. She told me directly, multiple times, since I was 17 years old. Then her health started declining, and my parents stepped in. They said it was to help her. They said she needed support. At first, I believed them, but then the stories stopped matching. Grandma would mention leaving me the house. My parents would say she changed her mind. She'd talk about her jewelry collection. They'd say she gave it away. I was 18. I didn't know what a trust document looked like. I didn't know what power of attorney really meant. I didn't know what beneficiary restructuring could do. They knew that. And then, one Tuesday, I came home early. My parents weren't expecting me. There were papers on the kitchen table. I saw my name. So I looked. What I read in those papers, I want you to really hear this, because this happens more often than anyone talks about. They were restructuring the trust, moving assets, reclassifying beneficiaries, and my name, which had been in that document for over a decade, was being quietly removed. Without telling me, without my grandmother fully understanding what she was signing. I took photos of every single page, put the papers back exactly as I found them, walked to my room, and sat there for 2 hours, just processing. I wasn't going to confront them. If I did, they'd move faster, shut me out, find a way to finalize everything before I could do anything. I needed a plan, so I called a lawyer. And what that attorney told me changed the entire game. I had one shot. And the clock was already running. I found an estate attorney through a legal aid referral. Told her everything. She listened. Then she leaned forward and said, "There's still a window. The original trust has a provision, a co-beneficiary acknowledgement clause. If your grandmother signs a reaffirmation of her original intent, witnessed and notarized, before the restructuring is finalized, it creates a legal record that cannot be overwritten without a court challenge." I had to get Grandma Ruth to sign before my 21st birthday. Because after that, certain clauses in the restructured version would automatically trigger. I had one shot, and then my parents told me they were throwing me a birthday party, and they were inviting Grandma Ruth. I want you to think about what they had just handed me. The day of the party, everything was already coordinated with my attorney. The reaffirmation document was prepared. A notary, introduced as a friend from school, was already there. The party started at 6 p.m. Grandma arrived at 6:15. My mom and uncle were busy playing host. I had maybe a 20-minute window. I sat down with Grandma Ruth at a corner table. I explained everything. quietly, calmly, in plain language. No legal terms, no pressure. I showed her the document. I told her what it meant. And I asked her, "Is this still what you want?" She looked at me, took my hand, and she said, "Baby, I've been trying to tell them for 2 years. Nobody listens to me anymore." She signed. The notary witnessed it. I signed as the beneficiary acknowledgement. The whole thing took 11 minutes. Then we walked back to the party. My uncle gave a speech. My mom cried. They cut the cake. My dad hugged me and said he was proud of who I'd become. I hugged him back. And I thought, you have no idea. That night, alone in my room, I sat with that document in my hands for a long time. I didn't feel like I'd won something. I felt the weight of what had almost been taken, and what it meant that I'd caught it in time. The next morning, I emailed a certified copy to my attorney. She filed it with the county probate registry that same day. Then I called my mom. I want to be honest with you. Because what came next was not a clean victory. There was no triumphant moment, no apology, no sudden family healing. My uncle was furious. There were accusations, arguments, weeks of complete silence. My mom said I had gone behind their backs. She wasn't entirely wrong. There were nights where I questioned everything, where I wondered if protecting money was worth what it had cost the relationship. I want you to hold that. Because it's real. But here's what I kept coming back to. My grandmother's voice. In that corner of the party. Nobody listens to me anymore. I had listened, and whatever it cost me, I would do it again. Every time. The reaffirmation document didn't end everything, but it created a paper trail. It created accountability. It complicated any attempt to continue restructuring against my grandmother's stated wishes. Grandma Ruth passed away 8 months after that birthday party. She passed knowing her wishes were documented, that the person she'd wanted to protect was protected. And honestly, that is worth more than $890,000 to me. Here's what I need you to walk away with. If you have an elderly loved one, and people around them have gained legal authority over their finances, you need to know 3 things. 1. A trust can be changed. People with power of attorney have significant ability to restructure assets. It even has a legal name, financial elder abuse. It is far more common than anyone talks about. 2. Your loved one still has rights. As long as they are legally competent, their expressed wishes carry enormous legal weight. A notarized document, signed in a sound state of mind, is incredibly difficult to challenge. 3. You don't have to face this alone. Legal aid exists. Estate attorneys offer free consultations. Adult Protective Services handles financial elder abuse. You don't need to be a lawyer to protect someone you love. You just need to ask the right questions and document everything. I took photos of papers on a Tuesday afternoon. 14 months later, that was part of the legal record. If you've ever watched someone you love get slowly pushed out of their own decisions, drop a massage in the comments. I want to know who's here. And if someone in your life needs to hear this story, share it with them. Not for the views, for them. Because right now, somewhere, there is someone sitting on a situation exactly like this, with nobody to talk to and no idea what their options are. Maybe this is the video that changes that. I read every single comment, every one. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and the people you love.